They say empires fall slowly, grain by grain, decade by decade. But Rome almost lost Britain in a single season. Not to legions, not to rival emperors, but to a woman the empire believed it had already broken. This is the story of Boudica, the queen who nearly crushed Rome's hold on Britain and came closer to ending Roman rule in the north than any general for the next 3 centuries. The wind over eastern Britain carries a certain kind of cold. Not the icy bite of the Alps or the winter rains of Gaul, but something older, sharper. To the people living here nearly 2,000 years ago, that wind carried whispers of gods and ancestors, carried the drumbeat of tribal pride, and carried the weight of a single question. How long could Rome be endured? Before Boudica became the spark of revolt, she was a queen. A queen in a world Rome described as barbarian, yet a world with its own diplomacy, wealth, and political complexity. Her people, the Iceni, lived in what is now Norfolk, a region of rolling plains and forest. And for decades, they had lived in an uneasy balance with the Roman occupiers. Not allies, not enemies, something in between. Rome permitted the Iceni to remain semi-independent under their king, Persudicus. In exchange, the tribe paid tribute, kept the peace, and recognized Rome's growing authority. To the Iceni, it was a compromise that allowed them to preserve their identity for a time. But empires do not tolerate ambiguity forever. When Persudicus died, he attempted to protect his people from Roman greed by naming both Rome and his daughters as heirs. A symbolic gesture meant to satisfy both imperial law and tribal tradition. But Rome did not see it that way. A kingdom without a strong male ruler was simply a territory waiting to be annexed. And so the moment Persudicus died, Roman officials swept into Iceni lands like a storm that had been gathering for years. They seized property, they claimed lands, they humiliated the tribe's elite, and in a violation that would echo through history, they publicly flogged Boudica and assaulted her daughters. The Romans believed the message was clear. Resistance was hopeless. The Iceni were nothing. The empire could break them at will. But humiliation does not always breed submission. Sometimes it breeds something far more dangerous than any legion could predict. Boudica rose, not as a queen of a minor tribe, not as a mere local figure, but as a symbol, a storm in human form. Word spread across Britain like wildfire. The Trinovans, long resentful of Roman rule, joined her. Other tribes followed, driven by old grievances and new fury. And soon, Boudica found herself at the head of a vast coalition. Tens of thousands strong. This was no small uprising. It was a reckoning. Her people believed the gods were on her side. The Druids foretold victory. And Rome was caught completely off guard. Its governor, Suetonius Paulinus, was campaigning on the island of Mona, modern Anglesey, stamping out Druidic resistance. His legions were far from the rising flames of the east. When Boudica struck, she struck at the heart of Roman arrogance. Her first target, the Roman colony of Camulodunum Colchester, a settlement built for retired legionaries, symbols of Roman pride and Roman permanence. But there was one problem. Camulodunum had no walls. The city believed it didn't need them. After all, who would dare defy Rome? When Boudica's army descended on the colony, the answer became horrifyingly clear. The defenders made a desperate stand in the Temple of Claudius, a stone fortress in a sea of burning streets. They held for 2 days. No rescue came, and the city fell. It was the first Roman settlement in Britain, and now it lay in smoking ruins. But Boudica wasn't finished. The Roman 9th Legion marched to relieve the colony, and she crushed them. Infantry wiped out. Only the cavalry escaped. To anyone watching, it looked like Rome's control of Britain had snapped in half. Next came Londinium, the young, thriving trade hub on the Thames. A city full of merchants, families, and wealth. When Suetonius finally reached it, he faced an impossible choice: defend a city he could not save, or abandon it to preserve his army, Britain's only hope of resisting the uprising. He chose the latter. Londinium was evacuated, and Boudica's forces burned it to the ground. The destruction was almost total. Roman London wasn't merely defeated, it was erased. Then came Verulamium, St. Albans. Another blaze, another symbol of Roman civilization swept away in days. Across Britain, panic radiated outward from the smoke clouds. Refugees fled, roads clogged with survivors. Legionaries whispered that the empire might lose Britain entirely. For a moment, it seemed possible. Rome, eternal, unshakable Rome, was wobbling before a queen from the edge of its world. But empires do not die easily. Suetonius, hardened, calculating, and utterly determined, gathered every soldier he could find. Legionaries, auxiliaries, cavalry, a fragmented force, but disciplined. He chose his ground carefully, a narrow defile protected by woods, where Boudica's superior numbers meant nothing. A killing field where Roman formations could hold and channel the fury of an entire nation. When Boudica arrived, her army may have numbered over 100,000. Men, women, children, entire communities following the rebellion with wagons lined up at the rear. A moving people, not just an army. Before the battle, Boudica spoke. Her words were